Hey, it's Alex from BoardGameCo over here, and today we are talking about Ascension Tactics, the deck building game. Ascension Tactics, shockingly enough, is a version of Ascension. It's basically Ascension, but in a deck building slash miniature slash dudes on a map kind of game, so it changes up the formula, it changes up the game. And today we're going to talk about whether you should or shouldn't back it. The usual question over here at BoardGameCo, the usual discussion, does it make sense to back this Kickstarter? Now, if you're new to the channel, if you are new here, I will note offhand, I tend to cover the game briefly in overview, but I focus more on the value proposition of Kickstarters. I focus more on whether it makes sense to back a game, or whether you should just wait for retail, wait for the secondhand market, whether it's cheaper to get later, and if you get it now and you don't like it, can you sell it and get your money back? Those are the things I tend to focus on because we live in a world of many Kickstarters, and I like to make sure that I, and hopefully you as well, are getting our money's worth, are paying for things that make sense. And I will spoil today's episode by telling you that Ascension Tactics, in my opinion, does not make sense. And we'll get into that shortly. We will go into it, and it's a bit of a broad declaration. It's a bit of a big statement to make at the beginning of the video. But I find that Kickstarters, in general, are divided up into a few categories. There are the obvious ones to back that just make sense. They will hold their value. If you want to get them later, you're going to have to pay through the nose to get them. Classic examples are Common games, any Awakened Realms game that you're not yet sure if there's a second printing or when there'll be a second printing. Mythic games are often a good example of this as well. There are many examples of Kickstarters that really deliver a value for your money, for your dollar. You're paying, they're giving you extras. Then there are examples of Kickstarters that fall somewhere in the middle. There are ones that are offering you a decent value, but not a great one. They're okay, and examples of that might be Perseverance, Castaway Chronicles, which I just covered, Dead Reckoning, which I just covered. There's many in that ballpark where they're offering a decent value, but it's not a clear win. It really depends on what happens later, how good the game is there a secondary market dump? And then there are ones that I just don't understand why they are priced the way they are. When I say don't understand, this is actually a whole nother topic I plan on covering in the future. It's a whole nother discussion as to why Kickstarters are the price that they are. And we've seen this shift. What Kickstarter used to be perceived as this amazing deal, Kickstarter used to be this opportunity to cut out the distributor, cut out the retailer, and pass that savings or those increased items and things that you get in the Kickstarter to the backer, to you and I, the people backing the Kickstarter. And also the creator of the game gets to pocket a little of that as well. They're bringing this to the table for the first time. They are creating a game that takes time and money, and you are helping bring the project to life. And so there'd be a win for the creator and a win for the backer. But we're not seeing that as much anymore. And sometimes we see price tags that just don't make sense to me. And there are reasons why those prices are the way they are. And we'll get to that. That will be a whole nother video for another day. Why Kickstarters are priced the way they are. What makes sense. What goes on behind the decision of pricing a Kickstarter. But for today's video, I don't think Ascension Tactics is a game you should back. As of right now. I should make that disclaimer right now. As of right now. There are stretch goals in this campaign, and that might change my opinion. Now is a good time to tell you that if you haven't yet, please subscribe down below, ring the bell so you get notified. Apparently only 5% of my subscribers actually have rung the bell so that they get a notification when I put a new video out. That's an integral part of finding out. I just got a comment today from one of my backers, from my subscribers, saying that they didn't realize a video had come out and they therefore rung the bell. Ring the bell. It really does make a difference to finding out all the stuff. And the reason I'm telling you to subscribe, the reason I'm telling you to ring that bell is because I do Kickstarter roundup videos and I update my opinion based on developments in the Kickstarter. At the end of the day, when I give an opinion, when I put out one of these videos, it is based on what we know now. And obviously that means things can change for the better, things can change for the worse. I might just have a change of heart and no longer be interested in the game. All these things can matter. Although I will be clear, when I have a change of heart, it doesn't affect the value question, it just affects my own choice of whether to back the game. So as of right now, Ascension Tactics I don't believe should be a game that you back. That might change based on the stretch goals. But before we get into that, and we're already a few minutes into this video, so we will come back to this though, let's cover the game. Let's cover what is going on with Ascension. So to begin with, Ascension is a deck builder. If you haven't heard of Ascension, it has been a deck build, I think it's 10 years now, 10-year anniversary. They're coming out with Ascension Tactics as the new big thing that they are adding to this series. And it's basically, it might have been the first deck builder to popularize the line of cards. Whereas Dominion was the first deck builder to popularize deck building, Dominion has fixed pile of cards, which for myself, by the way, is a personal preference. That's personally my preference in deck builders. I like fixed piles more than lines. That being said, I do like lines in many other games. I would say Shards of Infinity, which is also by Stoneblade Entertainment, same producer as Ascension Tactics. Shards of Infinity is a line-based deck builder that I really enjoy, so there certainly are exceptions. But Ascension Tactics, I believe, popularized the line-based deck builder. By the line-based, I mean, instead of fixed cards that are available, you just deal cards to a row, and then players can add those cards to the deck as things develop, and they build their deck and play and go towards the usual objectives, and it's a deck builder. And it's a popular deck builder. It's one that has had expansion after expansion after expansion. It's one that has had anniversary collector editions year after year. I think there are 3 of them by now. 3 giant year 1, year 2, year 3 collector editions that add a ton of cards, tons of stuff to this game. This is a fully built out world of deck builders with lots of expansions. And Ascension Tactics is not compatible, but it takes that formula and adds a skirmish mode. It's basically a skirmish. Let's see if we can find a picture here. Here are all the miniatures. We'll come back to those. But it adds this map, this skirmish mode map that you can put your characters on. You could deck build and fight it out. Now, this is something we have seen before. We've seen it before in Ignite. Ignite is a Kickstarter by, I think it was their first time. I think it was their first Kickstarter, the first time publisher or whatever. But Ignite was also a deck building skirmish game. And that one certainly looked interesting. And this one looks interesting as well. My critique has nothing to do with the game and more to do with the production and the cost. In terms of the game, if you like Ascension, it's probably a safe bet that you will like this as well. Not a ton is changing. It's taking a classic formula that you know and love and just adding a 3D map mode aspect to it. It's adding an aspect to that game that if you like the idea of skirmish games and you like Ascension, this is probably a game you'll like. In fact, the testimonials so far, and again, paid previews as well, take them with a grain of salt, but overall, the testimonials are pretty positive. Mark Street, this is easily going to be my favorite of the Ascension games, and I've already been a fan. That important sentence is important, by the way. My favorite of the Ascension games is a meaningless statement if you're not a fan already. But if you're a fan already, if you already like Ascension, and this is going to be the best one yet, great. And additionally, in terms of if you're not sure if it's for you, just because a bunch of other people have liked the game, or paid previewers, reviewers have liked the game, and again, grains of salt, take them all with grains of salt. If you're unsure, you can play it on, I have to see if I can remember, you can play it on something, I remember that. You have to play it on Tabletop Simulator. Go ahead, download Tabletop Simulator, buy a copy if you haven't already. It can be very useful. And then Tabletop Simulator, to be clear, Tabletop Simulator is its own platform that you can play multiple games on. So it's not like you're paying $20 or $10 or whatever to play Ascension. You're paying $10, $20 for Tabletop Simulator, and from there you can download and then play Ascension. Give it a roll. Give it a roll? Give it a whirl. I say the wrong word sometimes. Give it a whirl. See if you like it. See if it's up your alley. It may very well might be a game for you. There are previews. You can look at Man vs. Meeple, Dice Tower. There are various previews that will give you a general overview of the game. And again, it's basically Ascension with a board. That's not a bad thing at all. But when we come to the pledge levels, that's where the negative Nancy side of things rears its head. That's when I unfortunately have to be far more critical than I would like to be. I generally like to say positive things about games. I like to support publishers. I like to be a builder in this hobby, a builder in this industry. I like to help everyone grow. But I'm still going to give my honest opinion. And unfortunately, in this case, my honest opinion is that it doesn't make sense. Again, caveat, asterisk, as of now. Stretch goals can be a thing. So let's cover the pledge levels. The pledge levels, we have $1. Go ahead, join the team and support us. Great. Awesome. We have the core game, jumping into the core game at $99 for the core game. And for that core game pledge, let's scroll back up over here. For that core game pledge, you get a whole bunch of miniatures, 38 total miniatures, 27 unique sculpts, a whole bunch of cultists, because it's Ascension, it's got to have cultists. Disclaimer, by the way, I've never actually played Ascension. So when I say it's Ascension, it's got to have cultists, I just know that Ascension has cultists. I've never actually played Ascension. 6 iconic sculpts, these bigger beasts or whatever they are, and then 250 cards. Over 250 cards, let's be fair. A regular game of Ascension, if you were just buying a base game of Ascension, you're going to have in the range of 200 cards either way. And that will cost you $30 at Cool Stuff Inc. That will cost you, it's nothing, it's not a lot of money, you know, I mean, not a lot of money, relative. But you go to your online retailer, you go to BoardGameCo.com, you go to MiniatureMarket.com, Cool Stuff Inc., Game Nerds, whatever retailer of your choice, or if you're international, whatever retailer you want, it's a $30 game with 200 cards already. Buy an expansion, boom, you're up to $50, and you have 400, 500 cards. This is giving you the quantity in this game, the components in this game. They're giving you 250 cards and then 38 miniatures. That's what they're giving you here. They're giving you a board, but regular Ascension has a board as well. Perhaps smaller, but it's still a board. 38 miniatures. And what do you get for that? What do you have to pay for that privilege? $99 plus $20, I think $20 or $25 shipping for the US. $125 out the door for 38 miniatures and 250 cards. It straight up doesn't make sense. I can't imagine that as of right now, I can't imagine you will get this, you'll be paying this price down the road. This will be cheaper when it hits retail. This will be much, much cheaper. It's not even a question. It is overpriced for what you are getting here. And in terms of the miniature quality, I can't speak for the quality. Don't know anything about the quality. In terms of the sculpts, you decide if you're interested. I think some of them are okay. Some of them I thought were fairly weak. I wasn't personally drawn in by them, but they're certainly not bad. It might just come down to personal preference on the sculpts. But this board, I mean, this graphic design of this board is not inspiring. There's not an inspiring set of whatever to jump into. This board looks plain as can be. Which I'm not trying to be overly critical of the game. It might be a personal preference. Maybe that's my own opinion. And by the way, if you like the board, disregard my opinion of the board. I'm a big fan of being your own voice when you want to be. If you disagree with me, by all means disagree with me. But it doesn't seem like the value is here. And they launched with a $150,000 goal, $150,000 goal for the Kickstarter. Good job, honest stretch goal, honest pledge goal, whatever it is. So good for them. I approve of that. But then their first stretch goal is at $300,000. I don't know if they thought this was going to be a knock out of the park success. I don't know if they just don't plan on having a lot of stretch goals. They do have 27 days to go, but often you see most of it in those first days. Unless they drop that gap down to like 10,000, you're not going to be getting a lot of extras in those stretch goals. Unfortunately, for Ascension Tactics, the price point does not make sense to me. And I'm interested in the game. I want to be very clear. I backed Ignite. I was very interested in the concept. I love deck builders. I love skirmish games. I'd love to combine the two. Ignite might not be the great game I hope it is, and I don't mind having a second one and picking the better. I certainly don't. But I am straight up not backing this based on the price and based on the pledge levels. This price does not make sense. There is no distributor and there is no reseller in the picture. How much can it possibly cost to produce this? How much? The price point doesn't make sense. It's an overpriced game. And again, I hate doing these videos. I really do. My goal is never to beat down on people. I would rather tell you every game is a win. This is just so far from something that makes sense to me that I don't understand. I don't understand it. I really don't. Just in terms of what you're getting for this price point. In terms of those other pledge levels, we didn't really talk about it. Let's jump to those other pledge levels. Other pledge levels from there, after the $99 pledge, we have $139. That's a $40 jump. A $40 jump, but it's actually a $45 jump because your shipping goes up too. So a $45 jump to get a playmat, 300 sleeves. Okay? Not the best, but not the worst. Playmats can be expensive, but you can often get them for $25, $30. Sleeves, they overcharge in most Kickstarters, so I tend to just say don't get sleeves. I don't think that's worth getting, but hey, if you don't have another source of sleeves, you don't have cheaper sleeves, and you really want that playmat, go ahead, jump in on it. For $299, actually, I'm not really going to cover the rest of the stretch goals because they get progressively more expensive and they just add more. For $299, we have the Ultimate Bundle, all the things. There are pledge levels where you can $7,500 to join the Void. They currently have, how many of them they have? I think one person backed one. One of those 4 pledge levels, so 4 different pledge levels of $7,500 to become a character in one of the factions. I think it's cool if somebody wants to do that, by all means, but one of them hasn't been bought, the other 3 have not. They have retailer pledges. They have, and here's that Void pledge. The add-ons, if you want add-ons, they just have a ton of other extension stuff, and they have the playmat itself. $25, this is a better price, by the way. If you want the playmat and not the sleeves, just get the playmat over here. That's $15, that's again not $15, that's $20 extra for the sleeves because of shipping, and that's a lot to pay for 300 sleeves. I mean, 300 sleeves, if depending on who you're using, shouldn't cost you, even on the high end, should cost you like $10. $20 is just a lot of money for sleeves. The first stretch goal, which they haven't hit as of filming, I am filming this, by the way, on Thursday, and you guys will be seeing this on Sunday, I believe. So, as of right now, the stretch goals, they were just on the cusp of unlocking the first stretch goal, the Nihil Bomber miniature. Nihil, I'm assuming, it's not nihilism, I don't know what it is. Nihil Bomber miniature. So that's going to be unlocked at 300,000. They do have a bunch of social goals unlocked. They have one character, a few cards, the spot UV in the cover, upgraded banner art, and a treasure bag. Not bad. Extras. It's okay. They have some more stretch goals. If you're interested in the game, go ahead and give it a shot. There's never a guarantee these things will be coming to retail. It's never a guarantee. But this game likely will hit retail. And it likely will hit retail with... It's not going to be this price, I'll tell you that much. Between shipping, between the actual cost, it's not going to be this price. Hopefully the stretch goals will change. Hopefully they will be adding enough content throughout this Kickstarter, or maybe switching to daily goals. Maybe, like, I mean, we've seen Kickstarters do this before when they don't seem to hit that level of money they want. Sometimes they switch to daily goals. But setting a first stretch goal $150,000 over your initial goal, I don't know what their game plan is. I don't know what their goals are. For myself, I will keep an eye on this campaign as we go through, the Kickstarter roundups over the next few weeks. I'm doing a weekly Kickstarter roundup every Monday, and I will certainly cover any updates that change my opinion. But right now, that gap from what I think makes sense to where it currently is so far that I can't imagine that gap being filled. I just can't. Being bridged. I'm sorry for being a Debbie Downer on this video. That being said, I will note someone in the comments in one of my recent videos said I've been too positive lately. I've been saying back them all, so I guess you're welcome. Here's one that I don't think you should back. Ultimately, you have to make your own decisions in life. You have to decide if it's a game you want. There are currently in the range of, 2,500 backers already on this game. There's 2,384 backers on this game. That's a lot of people who want in. Good for them. Listen, I wish Stoneblade nothing but success. And I hope all those backers are happy with their pledge. My goal is not to in any way hurt anyone in this industry. But in terms of my own opinion as whether this makes sense to back or whether it'll be cheaper later, I think it'll be cheaper later. As usual, I am Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry again that it's a little more negative than usual. The price point just bugs me. It really does. I want to see a reason. I don't mind saying I'm uncertain. I really don't. I don't mind saying I'm uncertain at all. But at least put the price point in a place where I can say I'm uncertain, instead of being so far apart from what I think makes sense that, hey, who knows? Maybe it'll hit retail and be more expensive. In which case, I still recommend not buying it. I'm Alex. Have a good one, and I will see you tomorrow.